So getting back into what's going on with James Comey and this wild indictment, we went over it in the previous segment in video if y'all didn't see it. And this is one of the craziest indictments I think I've ever seen. Short, sweet, and to the point. All they're saying is that James Comey, he said that an authorized someone at the FBI, excuse me, that he authorized someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports. And they're alleging that that was a lie. And that person 3 was actually authorized to talk about person 1 by James Comey. So now with that being said, let's see what's going to happen moving forward.
This evening, that former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury on 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction. Now, the charges stem from Comey's testimony before Congress back on September 30th, 2020. And that specific date is very important because the statute of limitations on these charges is 5 years, which means the last possible date to charge Comey with this crime, lying during that testimony, would be September 30th, 2025. That is next Tuesday. In a statement, the brand new U.S. attorney prosecuting Comey, Lindsay Halligan, fresh on the job, having never, ever prosecuted a single case, wrote, quote, "The balance of power is a bedrock principle of our democracy. It relies upon accountability and a forthright presentation of facts from executive leadership to congressional oversight," misspelling the word principle. In a post on social media, Attorney General Pam Bondi said today, quote, "Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people." FBI Director Kash Patel said, quote, "For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging one's proud institutions and severely eroding public trust." Of course, that is exactly what is happening here. Donald Trump's administration and the enablers around it are very clearly and forthrightly abusing federal law enforcement in a way that we have not ever seen, at least since Nixon and probably before then.
Oh, now, all right. Now, again, I should have known when we were playing MSNBC that it would go this way. All right, let's not. We just talked about Diddy. Okay, let's not talk about abusing the system. Did he lie or didn't he lie? They're allowed to say James Comey got up there and lied. We have an indictment and we're charging him with 2 counts. What are the 2 counts? Count 1, false statements. Count 2, obstruction of congressional proceeding. And if he didn't lie, okay, you're innocent until proven guilty. But if there's evidence here showing that James Comey lied, which we probably could go back to if I were good, really, really good at my job, we could go back and find the exact instance they're talking about. Then how is this abuse? It's literally how the system is built. Like, what do you have to have? I mean, what? It's MSNBC, guys, so take it with a grain of salt. Same thing with Fox.
To punish political opponents, people who say things they don't like, people who have taken political actions they don't like, or law enforcement actions they do not like. Trump can barely even bring himself to deny that he is personally directing these investigations and indictments.
It seems like an indictment on James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General, and Todd Blanche, and Lindsay Halligan, who's a very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay, I want to be crystal clear here. All of the reporting we have, and we're going to have one of our own reporters who first broke this story, indicates that when Donald Trump says, "I don't know, I have no idea," that that's a lie, that he's lying about that. That was him today in the Oval Office, because we know that he has been directing this behind the scenes, and in fact, often publicly. This case against Comey is being brought in the Eastern District of Virginia. The previous U.S. attorney there, a career prosecutor, a guy chosen by Trump named Eric Siebert, a guy who had a good working relationship with Emil Bovee, who was the number 3 at Department of Justice, who prosecuted immigrant gangs like the president wanted. Well, he was pushed out last week. And the reason he was pushed out, in part, is because Siebert opposed bringing charges against Comey. And because of that, he was then...
Is that... I think, again, has that been documented somewhere? I haven't heard that. That sounds like a rumor and something that's not substantiated. But again, MSNBC, here we go.
Opposed bringing charges against Comey. And because of that, he was then swiftly replaced with the new U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, who we just mentioned. Now, Lindsay Halligan is a Florida insurance attorney with no prosecutorial experience. She was once Trump's personal lawyer.
Oh.
Halligan was sworn in on Monday, and I have to say, today is a big day for Lindsay Halligan, who has now secured her first ever indictment. She went 2 for 3. The grand jury rejected one of the charges, but she's never done that before, so it's a big professional milestone for Lindsay Halligan today to get these 2 indictments because she's never, ever, ever done that before. It's now Thursday. James Comey has now been indicted, just like she was obviously appointed to do. It's clear as day what's happening here, right? In his first term, Trump tried to get James Comey to turn the historically independent FBI into a tool to protect his friends and punish his enemies. Specifically, he wanted Comey to drop the investigation against Trump's former National Security Advisor, Mike Flynn, for lying to the FBI. And now, 8 years later, Trump's new Department of Justice is going after Comey, they say, for lying to Congress, but really it looks like because the president has it out for him. Carol Lennox, an MSNBC investigative reporter. She was the first to report that Comey may be indicted along with Ken Delaney, and she joins me now. Carol, the temptation when this news breaks and we have an indictment in front of us is to sort of go through the facts and the details here. But to me, that's a small part of a story that is much larger in context here because of you and Ken's great reporting about how we got to this point. As the person that reported out, how significant is this moment?
I'll use the words, Chris, that prosecutors and federal investigators are saying to me tonight, which is simply chilling. Chilling because a seasoned prosecutor who was appointed by the Trump administration, chosen by Donald Trump and his allies, looked at the facts in this case.
Guys, I hate when they do this, man. Like, we're just over politicizing stuff. Listen, if you have a problem with the law, change the law. We can't flip flop on this. We got to have accountability on both sides. It's so hyperbolic, so dramatic. None of this was being said when Trump was being charged right here in Atlanta by Fani Willis. None of this was being said. None of this was being said when this man was trying to run for president and there were indictments coming left and right. And he said, "Hey guys, can we run for can I get this election over with before we do this?" And they said, "Nope, we're coming after you. I don't want you to win." Nobody was talking like this. And now this is chilling because a guy might have lied on the stand. People lie on the stand. How many trials have we covered here? How many trials have we covered on this channel where a witness called by the district attorney's office has lied on the stand? How many trials? I think there's at least a couple. Have we covered where a witness has had a false memory, or we've heard someone say, "I don't recall"? How many witnesses have perjured themselves and the DA's office has just been like, I don't know, whatever. So if this man broke the law, then he broke the law. Why is it chilling that there's a very specific, very clear, very simple, James Comey said that he didn't allow anyone to anonymously speak to the news. The indictment says he actually did allow someone to anonymously speak to the news or authorize. Why is this chilling? It's chilling because it's Donald Trump.
Case and said there wasn't a sufficient reasonable basis to bring it and was resisting bringing it, was pressured to resign or be forced out, thrown out on the curb, and he chose to resign. Days later, a person with no prosecutorial experience is the U.S. attorney, and these charges are brought. What's important here for people to understand is that prosecutors have a duty not just to see if they can get 23 people to say, yes, we agree with a one-sided version and we will indict this person. The duty is to bring cases only when you can sustain a conviction and when it is righteous. And in this case, there's serious questions about whether this is either a righteous case or has the facts that can sustain a conviction.
On that note, I mean, one of the details, which is like a sort of asterisk, but I think is a very big one, is it appears that they were only able to secure 2 of 3 charges from a grand jury. Again, the grand jury process is incredibly favorable to prosecution. They don't hear the other side. The standard is not, beyond a reasonable doubt, obviously. Rejecting charges before a grand jury is extremely rare, but has become more common under this Department of Justice. And even today, in this case, it appears one of the 3 charges was rejected by the grand jury.
That's right. And Chris, to be fair, we do not know what that third charge was. Ken and I reported when we were reporting and breaking the news that his indictment was, or the attempt to indict him was imminent and would likely come today. When we were reporting that, we heard that there were two theories of this case that witnesses were being asked about and that were being pursued, at least by Lindsay Halligan and maybe one or two other prosecutors in the.
And let's be honest, guys. Listen, again, I hate to break this down. I've served on a grand jury, so I'm sorry, I have some experience in this. So if what they're saying is true, and it was just 3 charges, and these are the only charges, literally all they would have to do is say, hey, grand jury, here's what this man's being charged with. Here's the story. He went before the Senate Judiciary Committee, right? And he said this. Actually, hold on a second. Here's the transcript. Hey, guys, here's the video. Want to watch the video? And they watch it. James Comey says, I never authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in the news reports. And they say, okay, got that? Cool. All right, now we actually have person 3 who was authorized by James Comey to speak to the news about person 1. Do you guys think this is most likely to have happened? Do you think James Comey most likely lied to the Senate Judiciary Committee, or he did it? The grand jury said, oh yeah, he probably lied. I mean, I don't really need to see anything else here. Can we move on to the next indictment? And you all know what the saying is about indictments, okay? You can indict a ham sandwich. It's not that
office. And that was one that he had lied in his September 2020 testimony to the Senate when asked whether or not he had authorized a leak about an investigation to anyone. And then the second was that there was a question about his handling of classified information or handling of a classified document. Ooh. I'm not saying that's what the third charge is, right, but it is something that was being asked about and pursued. And now here we are with a third criminal charge we don't know about that was declined. And of course, the 2 charges here, Chris, just to reemphasize them, are false statements to Congress and then obstruction of a congressional proceeding by providing those false statements.
I want to we just got a video that has been posted, I believe, to Instagram by James Comey, of course, the former FBI director.
Yeah, we're not going to hear that BS again. Let's go to CNN. This is going to get even better. I'm sure CNN will use some more words that are going to say this is tragic. This is appalling. This is insane that charges will be brought against an FBI director for lying in front of a Senate committee. Oh my gosh.
James Comey is now the first senior government official to face charges in one of President Trump's biggest grievances, the 2016 Russia investigation. Comey is charged with giving a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding relating to the testimony he gave before the Senate Judiciary Committee 5 years ago. This indictment comes just days after the president publicly demanded it, and shortly after the person the president had picked to be the U.S. attorney in this office quit. And the new U.S. attorney, 3 days into that job, did what the president had wanted to happen only 5 days before the statute of limitations was set to run out. Tonight, the president is celebrating, writing in all caps on Truth Social, quote, "Justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Dang. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation." The president ended his post with "Make America Great Again." This comes as I'm told by sources tonight that James Comey is expected to surrender tomorrow morning. We'll be watching, obviously, that appearance very closely. But the former director of the FBI has already made quite clear tonight that he's prepared to fight these charges.
Of course.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, But I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
Probably because his daughter
keep
got
the faith.
fired. He mad because his daughter got fired.
Comey saying he's prepared for this to go to trial. We'll see if that happens. And of course, this comes after the president had made no secret of his plan to try to make this day happen when he was running for re-election. So much so that I actually asked former director James Comey about this more than a year ago and whether or not he thought this day would ever come. Do you believe that Donald Trump will come after you personally if he's reelected?
Maybe. I mean, he spent 4 years coming after me. I think all I ended up with was a $400 tax refund, which is great. I guess I overpaid my taxes. I don't worry about me. I have the resources and the friends, and I know how things work. I can defend myself. I really worry about the people who have less of that than I do, the people making the cases, the career civil servants who are prosecutors and judges who are the bedrock of our rule of law. They are the people who will be most at threat.
And thank you for saying this in the chat. It's a, well, your daughter brought BS charges against Diddy. That's what you get. No, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. That's not how it works here. I mean, this is just chilling that these charges could be brought against this man. I mean, come on, guys. Really?
I want to get straight to CNN's senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez, who's following this closely. Evan, obviously, we've seen this indictment now. It's just about 2 pages. It's quite brief, actually. As you combed through it, what stood out to you?
Yeah, no, the bare bones nature of this charge, of this indictment really stands out. And what we know about it, Caitlin, is that Lindsay Halligan, who is the newly installed U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she is the one who personally presented this to the grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors...
I don't like that characterization because, again, with these attorneys, man, you have to listen to the language that's used. Again, characterizing this in that way, I don't think is fair. And let me rewind it just so y'all can hear exactly what Evan said.
2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors...
Let me go back a little bit more. Here we go.
Grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so,
I don't like that characterization. It could be many things. They could see this and say, man, I do not want to go after the FBI director. I don't want to do that. I'm too close to this. I don't feel comfortable. This could lead to a lot of other things. That could be the reason. We don't know the reason. We haven't heard from any of them. So again, CNN.
So what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors had tried to get approval for that the grand jury rejected. We know that what was rejected, according to the magistrate judge, was a count of false statements in the jurisdiction of a congressional proceeding and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. And so those 2 carry 5-year terms if he is convicted. Of course, we're a long way from there. And we know that Comey, as he says in his video statement there, is planning to fight this. We also have a statement from his personal lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald, who says Jim Comey denies the charges filed today in their entirety.
Of course,
we look forward to vindicating him in the courtroom. And so that process begins tomorrow in earnest, as your reporting indicates. He's going to be surrendering in the federal court there in Alexandria. And then we'll see how this case fares before a judge and before eventually perhaps a jury.
And we'll be giving you guys updates on this as well. Listen, can we just look at things objectively at some points? I know it's easy to say, oh, well, you did that. Oh, well, he did this. Did Comey lie or not? It's that simple. Did he lie or not? Let's look at the indictment. It's pretty straightforward. Did this happen or did it not? Did he break the law or did he not break the law? It's literally that simple. Did he make a false statement within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government? Did he? Obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Did he do that? And that's all we're going to focus on here. If you want to go to tit for tat, we could sit here all day and talk about who did this and who did that and who's going here. But if you decide and you make the choice to lie, and a person who's in a position who wants to hold you accountable for that does, then that's their right. It's that simple. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments and in the chat.